All right, what's good, YouTube? Today I got y'all the new top 5 metal loadouts you guys should be using. So if you enjoyed today's video, let's break 200 likes. Make sure you subscribe, the notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so for our first gun here today, we're gonna be using the Ames 85 or Ames 85, however you want to call it. I don't really care, but this is a really solid AR that I think you guys will like. So let's hop in here and give you guys the build for it. So first thing we're gonna go use is the extended mag 2. Giving us 60 rounds in the mag. You guys should always use extended mag 2, especially when you're building an AR for long range. It's not like we're building the AS Valve, for instance, as like an SMG. At that point, you don't want to use that bigger mag, but for this, you definitely do. Under barrel section, you guys want to stick with the vertical foregrip. There's not really any other grip in here, which is going to be inherently better. Honestly, that G grip they added in, whatever it was, season 2, 3, I don't even remember, but it really is not good. Like, it's not going to be exceptionally good. It's not going to be better than the Ranger foregrip for close range or the vertical foregrip for long range. So you guys just want to stick with the vertical, especially on a long range build. Get help unlocking Dark Matter, Abyss, and Nebula camos in Black Ops 6 with Mitch Cactus. They're absolutely the biggest and most reliable in Call of Duty right now. Whether you want something across multiplayer, zombies, or Warzone, they're completely legitimate for all platforms. They're super trusted by the community, and you may have seen them all over YouTube, and that's for good reason. They'll unlock all your camos, augments, and more without needing to lift a finger. With over 17,000 reviews and thousands of personalized vouchers, they're the go-to for all things in Call of Duty. Use code CHUCK at checkout for 5% off. Now, after that, in the barrel section, this is where you can kind of use a little bit of like one or two options. First one being, of course, the gain twist barrel, and then you go down here and you can see the reinforced barrel. And the only reason I'd say that you can use the gain twist or the reinforce is because if you take a look at your damage at effective range, which is 43.3 meters, you can see that it's basically 43 right there, and then over here it's 39.4. So on other ARs, there is a big difference between the gain twist and the reinforce, being the reinforce has significantly more damage range. That would be the case where I'd say, hey, use the reinforced barrel. But because this really doesn't have that, and of course then your bullet velocity is significantly better with the gain twist, I just say to use the gain twist and be good with that, because you're not going to notice that like 3-ish to 4 meters of damage range. If it was like 39 to 49 meters, then you definitely notice that, but for this you really don't. After that, muzzle section, you guys want to stick with the compensator. I will say that if you are a bit of a higher skilled player, you can go with the mono suppressor, as that will increase obviously out your damage range basically to that reinforced barrel range right there. So that'll be pretty cool, and your bullet velocity will be like wicked fast. Super awesome stuff, right? But overall, like, it's going to be harder to control at range, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend that unless you're using a longer range optic. Even then, it's still kind of a little bit, you know, hit or miss. So I'd say largely speaking, you should go for the compensator, and you can try out the mono. Lastly, in the optic section, this is where you can kind of use really whatever you want in here, with the exception of obviously some longer like or bigger zoom optics. So pretty much any of these red dots are going to be fine. I'd really recommend using maybe the Willis 3x, Jason Armory 2x. That's going to be fantastic on the Ames 85 just due to the overall lack of visual recoil, and this gun being very effective at distance. So overall, you can use the Willis 3x, Jason Armory, and you can use something else down in here, like, you know, your whatever red dot of choice. It really doesn't matter too much. Use whatever you feel comfortable with. But overall, I will say the Willis 3x is going to be a fantastic option, so we're going to go and choose that. And that is also one of the things where I'd say that if you chose a bigger optic, you might be able to get away with using, let's say, the mono suppressor, just because it has built-in recoil reduction with that larger optic versus a red dot does not. So you can try it out, see what you want for yourself, but overall, that right there is going to be the build. Next up is going to be an SMG, which is the Ladra. So this also, just to put this out there, people ask me about like a camo swap glitch, and I don't know if the actual regular camo swap glitches work. My account is kind of in a permanently glitched state, so like I can swap anything. I don't know how, don't know why, so don't ask me. But that's kind of like how I still have this camo on there, and I'm able to swap over new camos to guns. But let's get here and show you guys how to build out the Ladra. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to use either Extended Mag 1 or Extended Mag 2. Basically, the reason being is because 66 rounds is incredible, and Extended Mag 1 having 55 is still incredible as well. So if you want to be more agile and mobile, have a bit more mobility on your build, use Extended Mag 1. If you don't really care, you're kind of like me, that you want just a little bit extra ammo, and in this gun in particular, I think it works very nicely. I just go for Extended Mag 2. Now we're going to go into the rear grip section here, and we're going to go for the ergonomic grip. This is the best for SMGs, just hands down. If you're playing public match Warzone, like you're not sweating it out in like Rebirth ranked or something else like that, you're going to go for the ergonomic grip, and this is going to be what you should be running. Stock section, this is where you can kind of get into a couple options in here, one being the infiltrator stock and the other being the balance stock. I'd recommend basically to go for either or of them. Balance feels great, infiltrator also feels great. For this gun in particular, I do think I lean a little bit more towards the infiltrator, and that is really going to be about it for that. On a barrel section, this is where I kind of talked about basically nothing's better than the vertical foregrip or the Ranger. Honestly, I always use the Ranger, but I know some people have trouble with recoil control, or maybe you just really like the way the ground loot version of the Ladra feels with having the vertical foregrip on there. Perfectly acceptable if you want to run that. Keep in mind you won't be as fast, considering this does give you sprinting movement speed, whereas the other one does not, but that's really neither here nor there. You can definitely live without that if you feel like you're going to hit a lot more shots with the vertical as opposed to the Ranger. Lastly, we're going to go in here to the barrel section. We're throwing on the long barrel, no reason to use anything else. It actually looks really cool with the gain twist on there, but unfortunately 13 meters is not nearly as good as basically 17 meters, and that is something you will feel, you will notice. You really don't notice the bullet velocity, so if you go down here, let's say for the reinforced barrel, while it is relatively close, you aren't going to really notice the bullet velocity, just because the range you are using this at is not at a distance where you're going to feel bullet drop off. So I would say just use the long barrel and be good with that and get your maximum effective damage range for a close range SMG. So that right there is going to be the full build. Next up is going to be a build here for the SWAT 556, aka the Grau. So of course, first thing in here is going to be the SWAT 556 Grau conversion. If you guys want to throw that on there, of course, if you don't do that first, then nothing else really matters because you can't use the other attachments without having the Grau conversion get on there. So now let's get in here and show you guys what to use. Rear grip is something I like to do just because this gun has fantastic iron sights and you really don't have to add an optic. But if you are going to go the optic route, then this would be the attachment category in which you can skip. So largely speaking, what I recommend here is the commando grip just because it helps you in a variety of ways. It's really solid. Take a look at the detailed stats. All really great stuff. Granted, this helps with your ADS speed and your jumping aimbound sight speed, but this also helps you with your sprint to fire, all that sort of stuff, and we really like that. So I'd say that is worth it to run the commando over something like the quick draw or the assault. Don't really recommend the ergonomic or the CQB grip because you're not really using it for these purposes. You really just want to make sure you have good ADS, a little bit of sprint to fire, slide to fire, maybe something like that, but that's really going to be about it. Magazine, of course, one option in here, so you go throw on the full auto extended mag. The rest of these are, of course, not able to be chosen. And honestly, you wouldn't be choosing anything short of extended mag 2 anyways, but we have 50 rounds in this mag that is basically the default full auto mag. Under barrel section, pretty standard. We go for the vertical foregrip. No reason to debate this here. And lastly, since we can't use a barrel, we go to the muzzle as it's already kind of, obviously built in for the variants. We're going to use either the ported compensator, which is going to be really solid, or the mono suppressor. Just kind of up to you guys what you want to run. I think the mono suppressor is really cool. I like it. If I'm playing Rebirth, I feel like my shot's very accurate with it, so I can definitely still do that. But the ported compensator, if you want something that's going to feel like it virtually has no recoil, then you can definitely go for that. And this will genuinely feel like it is an actual laser beam. So go for the ported if you want something no recoil. If you can deal with the tap of the kick and you want some better range and damage range, bullet velocity and damage range, then go for the mono suppressor. So I'm just going to choose the ported here to kind of, switch it up a little bit as I normally go for the mono. So that right there is going to be your full build. Next up is going to be a build here for the Jackal PDW. This is actually one of my favorite SMGs to use right now, just because the pure movement characteristics of it. I feel like you can genuinely really slide and glide around. It's just got that nice feeling to it. Also, if you guys saw my gameplay video using the BO7 metal loadout while using the MP7 or the Vel 46, that's another SMG I really love the feel of. So this right here is just like incredible. I love using this thing. So we're gonna go throw on the extended mag 2 here. Get us 50 rounds. It's awesome. Don't need to switch this up at all. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I was about to combine a couple words right there, but we're gonna go throw on that. Rear grip section, we're gonna go in here and throw on the ergonomic grip. This is, like I said, what you use for essentially every single SMG build. No reason to go for anything else unless you're playing, let's say, Rebirth Ranked, in which case I know they like to switch stuff up on the magazine, the rear grip, maybe the stock they're using, but for public match, like, we're just running this. Stock section, I personally really like running the Infiltrator. I just love the Infiltrator on this gun. I just love the aim locking movement speed. I love the way I can glide around with it. It feels good to me. So I always like to go for that. But the other great option in here is going to be the balanced stock, because you like keep in mind your aim locking movement speed. Like you get the double greens on all these arrows here, whereas a lot of them you'll get maybe 2 greens and like 1 for the other 3. This gives you 2 all the way down, which is pretty cool. We can see our aim locking ADS movement speed is 4.3 right here versus the balance stock. Your ADS movement speed is 4.1. So keep in mind you get a little extra movement speed right there as opposed to the Infiltrator stock. Not a whole lot, but it is actually an 11% increase. That's actually pretty good. So use kind of whatever you want. I think either or is going to be great. I like the Infiltrator. Underbarrel section. This is one gun where I actually say that if you want to use, let's say, the vertical foregrip, perfectly fine. Honestly, perfectly okay, because the Jackal does have that recoil where I can see why it wouldn't be people's like go-to choice, because it does bounce a little bit. So you can use the vertical to kind of mitigate that, or sometimes I've even seen people test out the G grip. Maybe a use case in which the G grip could be kind of interesting. But overall, I go for the Ranger, largely speaking, because I'm an advanced, player. I'm really good with recoil control, so I just want a little bit more movement, and I feel like I'm good otherwise. But for everybody else out there, if you feel like you're not good with it, use the vertical foregrip, and you'll be good to go. Otherwise, use the Ranger. Lastly, barrel section. You guys want to just go in here and throw on the long barrel to increase out your damage range. 15.8 meters versus 14.5. I could see there being an argument to use the reinforced over the long barrel, as you might not notice it, but keep in mind it is a little bit more personal preference. I feel that I'm better with the long barrel, and this is just kind of how I feel better when I use the gun, not the gain twist. Gain twist is not really going to be useful. Don't want to go for that. Long barrel or reinforce if you are going to do anything else. So between these two, choose what you like, test it out in the firing range, test it out in game, see what works best for you. Sometimes I feel like the firing range is not as indicative or as accurate to what something's gonna feel like in game. I just don't know how to explain it, but it feels like in game sometimes things hit harder versus the firing range, some things hit harder. So that right there is gonna be your full build. All right, now last but not least, I wanna give you guys a build here for the ABR A1, aka the AUG, the Stare AUG, whatever you wanna, however you say that thing. But this is a really fun AR to use. I'm happy that we have a burst AR that's actually really solid. So you can use this and have a blast. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna throw on the extended mag 2, which gets us 60 rounds in the mag. Definitely recommend. This would also be a gun where you could technically get away with running extended mag 1 only because it's a 3-round burst, and we're keeping it as a 3-round burst. I know if you go over in here to the fire mods, you can of course put on the rapid fire, which makes it into a full auto conversion. It's kind of a little bit deceiving. It says rapid fire, but then you look at the pros, it says full auto conversion. The overall burst version of this gun is better in Warzone. The rapid fire full auto version, I believe, is better in multiplayer. So just kind of use that. That's when I was leveling it up. I found that the rapid fire was way better in multiplayer than it was in Warzone. Next up though, we're gonna go to the underbarrel, which is gonna be the vertical foregrip. Always stick with this. This is a long range AR, so no reason to switch it up. Barrel section for this gun in particular, we're actually gonna be using the gain twist barrel, primarily because this is a, it's a burst. We're trying to make sure our shots register and hit fast, so we can get those follow-up bursts and stuff like that. We can be very accurate. I know the reinforced barrel is pretty cool at 54.9 meters, but your bullet velocity is only 1,056. I would say for this gun in particular, because this is already basically 46 meters, you want to just have the extra bullet velocity. It's going to feel better overall. It's going to fry. So just go for the gain twist barrel and you guys will be taken care of. Muzzle section, largely speaking, you want to go for the compensator. I have seen there being an argument for the ported compensator just because that first shot recoil control may make the burst a little bit better. Test it out for yourself, see what you like. I normally just go for the compensator if that's like my overall recommendation. I have tried the mono suppressor. It's all right, but I do feel like it slows this gun down quite a bit. Your ADS speed, I mean, being 300 plus meters a second with that versus going down here to 265, you do notice that. Like, you really for real do. And if you're playing with this on, let's say, Rebirth Island, you will definitely notice that. But I would say even the compensator is going to be good for big map Verdansk. Keep in mind, all these builds work good for no matter what you're playing. But that is just kind of that. Optic section in here. Now we're going to go and use basically kind of our optic of choice. Let's say you're playing Rebirth. Just go for the Volziski reflex. Go for a reflex of your choice. Or, I mean, what also does work really good is seriously still a 3x or a 2x. I wouldn't really recommend going for much else. I will say I have seen people go down here, and I believe they use, I'm not sure, what is it, the RK, oh, it's the RK multi-zoom, because this also has a 3x magnification. So if you have some good like reticles for this, I'm not a huge fan of the reticles on the RK, but that is definitely still that's still really useful. It also does help with your recoil gun kick more, so that is definitely something you guys can take notice of. Versus, you know, obviously the Willis and the Jason Armory are the other options, and then pretty much any of these other red dots up here are going to be kind of whatever you want to use them for. So I like to go for basically the Volziski. I'm not sure if I even pronounce this right, whatever. I like using this thing. Then of course we go into the customize tab and we go throw on the blue dot, red dot, because I just like the way that looks. So that right there is going to be the full build. That's my top 5. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.